Today I tried making GTA 5 look and feel as real as possible, and it actually looks insane. So I've added a bunch of mods into my game. I spent ages trying to put them all together and to find the right mods which will make our game look real. And somehow I think I've managed to pull off the absolute belter of a century. So first things first, the first mod I installed was Natural Vision Evolved. Natural Vision Evolved, in my opinion, is probably the best graphics mod out there at the moment. It's a bit intense, but it looks really, really good. Natural Vision Evolved adds things like parallax roads and volumetric clouds, which literally changes the game. The parallax roads gives the roads actual texture, so when you look at it, it is not just like a flat PNG. And then the volumetric clouds makes it so they actually have some sort of 3D effect to them. It is actually the same technique that they are using in GTA 6. It also changes a bunch of other things such as the environment and the textures of the ground. It completely redoes the whole game. And this is of course where I needed to start. The lighting, the weather, the grass, literally everything looks so much better with NVE. It even changes what the paint looks like on vehicles. It just gives that extra realism vibe. It was also super easy to install. It was pretty much automatic. The next mod I found, I took a while looking for something like this. I wanted something which would change the entire feel of the game and the environment. So I managed to find a mod called Lively World Expansion. Again, this is a paid mod, but it really wasn't a lot. I think it cost something like $10 or $15, and it completely changes what the environment looks like. It redoes all the trees, all the grass. It adds so many trees across the map that it just makes it feel way more alive. I feel like that's the one thing that makes GTA 5 look so unrealistic and outdated, is the fact that the environment feels so empty. It's also really well optimized, so it actually loads in really, really well, and it actually didn't drop my FPS too much. Obviously adding in all of these mods is going to drop my FPS, but it really wasn't too bad, and a lot of mods like this have really, really bad texture loading, so as you're driving through you can see everything loading in front of you, but this was actually really good and didn't ruin the immersion at all. And the best bit is, it was also compatible with NVE as well. This was also super easy to install with just a drag and drop OIV, and I experienced literally no issues with it as long as you follow their install instructions pretty well. And then I decided that probably the most basic thing that you would see in any realistic video is the traffic. You always see real cars driving around, and I've always struggled to find the right mods to be able to replace the traffic because usually some of them are pretty dodgy. However, I managed to find actually two mods, but one of the main ones that we're talking about right now by Central Mods. This guy has made some really, really cool mods. I'll touch on the other one in a moment, but the one we're talking about right now is Central Real Life Traffic Mod. This replaces every single vehicle in the game with real life traffic. We've got BMWs and Ferraris, Teslas and Toyotas. It replaces the taxis and the trucks driving around. I think this made a really, really big difference. And to be fair, every single one of the vehicles were really well optimized. My FPS actually didn't drop whatsoever. I remember years ago adding something like this would really affect your FPS. It has tons of different variations and they all work really well with the game. And there's one other mod that I installed which did help with this, but we'll touch on that in a moment. It definitely helps with this as it changes the way the vehicles spawn in. But the other central mods that I installed was a mod called Central Real Life Environment Mod. This was also really, really cool. It replaces a lot of the fake buildings in Los Santos with the real life counterparts from Los Angeles. So they focused on adding landmarks like the Home Depot, Capitol Records, and the Hollywood sign, and Slauson Supermall, along with a bunch of other things. It was also just really high quality as well, and hardly affected my FPS. Also, to install both of these mods, it was really easy. They're pretty much auto install, and again, I came across no issues. Their installations were pretty much spot on. Some of it was outdated, but really easy to guess what you had to do. I did see a couple of people moaning about their game crashing, but I'm pretty sure that's because they weren't following along. You actually need to add something called a heap adjuster and resource adjuster when you're installing this amount of mods. You need a pretty high powered PC as well. I don't have a super NASA PC, but it is pretty good. And I think that does help with my game not crashing. So that thing I mentioned earlier, literally a couple of minutes ago, about having better variation in the traffic, is a mod called Dynamic Traffic Colors. I added this in, I was just scrolling through GTA5mods.com and I found it. It's actually a featured mod from GTA, so you know it's pretty good. It has pretty good ratings too, but I find it made a really big difference. What it does is basically change the variation of traffic. It makes cars spawn in with different colors like reds and greens, and it just makes it feel more vibrant Also, vehicles spawn in with liveries as well, so it gets rid of that problem that GTA 5 has where they all just spawn in as grey or white or black or maybe the occasional red, and it actually adds a bit of liveliness and variation to the city along with everything else we've added so far. This is definitely a mod I'd recommend. It was free as well, and obviously all of this is down in the description below. This was also super easy to install. As far as I can remember, all you needed was script_v, and you literally just had to drag and drop it into your script folder. It was super easy. So following along a similar theme, what I wanted to do then was try and make the city feel more alive, but obviously we've already done the civilian aspect, but now on the police aspect. So I tried to find some sort of like ambient police mod, and funnily enough, I came across a script literally called Ambient Police. What this does is basically adds police around the map where they do their own thing. So you don't actually have to be doing anything. Before in GTA, normally you actually have to do something for the police to be doing things. But these people were actually just pulling over random civilians or doing traffic stops, and as you would drive past them, if you were speeding or you had your own wanted level, they would then catch on to the pursuit and leave the person that they had pulled over. It was pretty realistic, and it just made the city feel more alive again, more realistic, keeping to that goal that I was trying to make this the most realistic GTA 5 game save I could make. So then the next thing I did, I wasn't really sure how this would go. I just noticed it had a bunch of cool features. And also, I would maybe recommend leaving this one out if you don't like the look of the HUD, is called VHUD. This added a couple of really cool features, but then it also collects a bunch of scripts. So you can actually install most of these separately, but it just made my life a lot easier. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of their HUD or their phone that they include or anything like that, but it did make a pretty big difference just to the general feel. And it also added a bunch of other things like speeding tickets and seatbelt tickets. It also meant that when you crashed into someone, they would, if you didn't stop and give them your details, they would then call the police on you because you did a hit and run. It added that sort of RP aspect, so you couldn't just do anything willy-nilly. Again, added to the realism aspect. I thought it was pretty cool. Again, I experienced no issues with this. Super easy to install and simple. There was a couple things that you did have to do in OpenIV manually, so it wasn't the easiest. Maybe if you're new to this, you'd find it a bit confusing. So again, maybe you don't need this one, but it did definitely help with that realism aspect for like the RP side of things. And then the next thing I added was a script called Immersify. Now this didn't make a huge difference, but I thought it was actually pretty cool. This mod was designed to enhance the interaction between the NPCs and yourself. It basically improves the behavior of the pets in various situations and makes it a bit more realistic and engaging. For example, when you're in combat, different enemies of different personality types like cowardness or aggressive or tactical, and you get advanced player location by enemies after losing contact, and there's just a bunch of other cool features like gang wars and vehicle shootouts that it added in. I think it just added to that liveliness. I didn't particularly notice it when I was playing, but I think you would if you were in the game long enough. And then the final thing I installed is HUD Core. This I thought was pretty cool. It added a gang warfare related gameplay into it. And when you went onto the map, it had different color zones for the different gangs, and you could join and leave different gangs. It just made it pretty cool for that criminal aspect, as we haven't really touched on it a lot. And I think gangs is a pretty big part of GTA 5 story mode, for example. We have Frankling and things like that. So I thought it was a really cool mod to add in, a little detail. Again, it isn't something you necessarily notice whilst driving around, but I think it was a pretty cool addition. And that is pretty much it. That is how I made the most realistic looking game save I ever could. And it actually didn't cost me a lot. I think I spent maximum $20 on all of the mods in here, and only 2 of them were paid. None of this is sponsored. I just wanted to do it out of my own interest, since I've always seen YouTube videos making ultra realistic GTAs, and I wanted to give it a go myself, and I think I've made something pretty cool here. I'm going to leave all of the mods down in the description below if you want to copy my exact build. Let me know what you guys think about my game save. What do you think it looks like? Do you think it looks realistic? Do you think you could have done better? Other than that, I'll see all of you guys in the next video.